Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be filming my February reading wrap up. So in February I read 5 books and I started a 6th but I DNF'd it. So I started with Malibu Rising. I rated this 3 stars. I've read a lot of Taylor Jenkins Reid books and I usually love them. This one was pretty average. I felt like most of the story was just backstory, like you were reading from 2 different timelines. You're reading about their upbringing and how they're raised, and then you're also reading about what's going on in their lives currently, and I felt like that just wasn't super interesting to me. I felt like most of the book was like learning about them and their personalities, which is important to the book, but it just felt very boring personally. Also, a lot of the descriptions on the front of the book are like pure exhilaration, a sex on the beach cocktail of a book, the perfect literal beach read. I didn't get those vibes. I got good book, sort of dry story. Moving on, I read It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I read this because I know it's being made into a movie and I want to watch the movie, but I wanted to have read the book first. I rated this 4 stars. I really liked this. I really did, and I got my mum to read it and she really liked it. The main character has 2 love interests, one from the past who comes back into her life and one that she meets in the current part of the story. I really liked both of her love interests. The one that she had in her past when she was a teenager, I think that's such a beautiful story and I love that. The one that she meets in her current life and like where she is, I really liked him at the start of their relationship, and obviously if you've read this book you know what I mean. As it progressed, as a few things happened, I started to obviously, as much as he seemed like this really nice person and you wanted them to work out, his actions were not forgivable, and I liked that the book acknowledged that. I liked that that was where the book headed. They didn't romanticize what was happening. They didn't not take that issue seriously. Like Colleen Hoover did a really good job at writing this in a way that it made you feel connected to them. It made you feel like you were living in Lily's world and you had all this love and respect for this person, but also they treated you badly and you're not going to let them get away with that. So I don't know, this book I would definitely recommend reading the trigger warnings, because I personally have not experienced what happens in this book, but even it still made me a little bit upset. But otherwise I really liked Atlas, really liked Lily. The other characters in the book, they were really well written. Now, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo I borrowed off my brother's girlfriend, so I don't actually have the physical copy of it. This is also by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I rated this 4 stars. I really loved this. I was like drawn to the book. I really just wanted to keep reading it. I wanted to find out more. I wanted to know everything. It was sadder than I thought it was going to be, which I don't know. I've heard a lot of people talk about this book and no one's really mentioned how sad it is. Maybe I'm just a wuss. I don't know. I loved it. I really did. However, the one thing that like made me a bit sad about it, and this is what I wrote in my Goodreads review, was that the main romance that happens in this book was so consuming. Like it would have been so exhausting for these characters to live in real life that if you think too much about it, if you analyze their relationship too much, which I did, because I was so interested in the storyline, it's actually really sad and it's actually really tragic, because you have 2 characters or 2 people who absolutely adore each other, who love each other, they are so in love, but because of the time of when they lived, because of their careers, their lifestyles, it was not acceptable for them to be together. And the lengths that they go to try and be together whilst also keeping the rest of their life, their career, their lifestyle on track, it is crazy. Like very smart but crazy. And yeah, it just made me sad. You know, you read about these characters and these people, and I, you know, really loved especially Evelyn, and then I don't know, to connect with them, and then as you read the book realize that they never got to be together really. It was a bit sad, but I really liked it. I also liked that you have so many questions, you have so many things that you want to know, and it all ties up nicely at the end, and you answer and you get all your answers to the book and all your answers to your question. The next book that I read, and this is the one that I DNF'd, which if you don't know what that is, I did not finish it. I put it in a pile of books that I'm never going to read again. It is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Now here's the thing, I tried reading this probably about 12 months ago. It was sometime last year, and I read a few chapters and was like, this is boring, not interested, this is going nowhere, it's very slow. This time I was determined to get through this. I got probably halfway through this, maybe even more, and I was like, this is just not my book. It is not my book. Now, reading the reviews on this, it has an average rating of 4.4 stars. I don't understand. because I was halfway through this and like nothing had happened that interested me, or I wasn't connected with the characters. I also read from a lot of people that it is a slow burn sort of romance book. I really want to like Emily Henry's writing. I haven't read anything else from her, so I still have hopes because everyone says that she is such an amazing author. And I have Beach Read and You and Me on Vacation, and I haven't read those, and I'm kind of scared to read them because I don't want to hate them. The next book that I read, I don't have a physical copy of because I borrowed it from my sister. It's The Rom-Com Agenda by Jane Denker. This I really liked. I really enjoyed this book. It was really cute. It had a bit of depth to it. I didn't like that they were trying to change the male main character. Obviously that's part of the story and it's like a really big part of the story, so it makes sense, but I just felt like that gave me a bit of an icky feeling because you shouldn't have to change everything about yourself to like make someone like you. They should like you for who you are, and that's like a big part of the book. But because they don't really acknowledge that until like halfway through, 3/4 of the way through the book, every time it was like doing his makeover part, I just was like, ew. Because I was like, you shouldn't be changing yourself, like open your eyes. It was frustrating that it's a bit of a slow burn and it took a while to get into the romance with the two like actual new relationship. Also haven't really heard many people talk about that book, so if you haven't read it you definitely should. And then the last book that I read in February is Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood. This, if you've watched The Queen's Gambit, I think it's like on Netflix or something, you would like this if you liked that, because it's basically the same story. I liked this, however I was surprised because Ali Hazelwood writes some pretty spicy books. This had like one lightly seasoned section of this book. It's not very spicy at all. It's more about chess than it is about their romance. However, you do see a lot of like their connection and like the foundation building of their relationships and the intellectual attraction rather than physical attraction, which I really liked. This challenges and talks about the challenges of being judged or being disadvantaged simply based on your gender, and this had a few different layers. You know, you had her career goals, you had her romance, but then there was family issues. So there was a few different things going on, not just romance, which I think is a little bit different because a lot of her other books are just solely a lot of romance. I'm gonna stop rambling now. I've been talking for like 20 minutes. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy reading, make time to read, and I'll see you in my next video.